Welcome to Soul 180. In life, it's easy for our souls to get sideways from the situations that we face. Soul 180 is here to help turn things around. Real hope for real life. You can find us on Facebook and on our Soul 180 YouTube channel. Let's jump in to today's Soul 180.
The only punch I ever threw in middle school happened in the middle of English class. The big kid sitting right behind me kept drawing on the back of my ear with his pen. I told him to knock it off. He did it again, so I told him again. We went back and forth a few times until finally I'd had enough. And right in the middle of the teacher's lecture, I spun around in my seat and clocked him upside the head. I ended his art class, and for the rest of the period, he just sat there holding his head. And oddly enough, he never drew on my ear again. Now, I'm not recommending that as a life strategy, I'm not. But even as a kid, I learned something super important. You can be simply minding your own business and suddenly find yourself in a battle. King David, the ancient king of Israel, knew that well. And he opened Psalm 144 with these words: "Praise be to the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle." King David understood something followers of God sometimes today forget. Life is a fight, and the spiritual life is a spiritual fight. Not with people, but a fight for faith. A fight against discouragement, a fight against fear, a fight against temptation. A fight, as the Apostle Paul says, against an unseen opponent. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. The Bible makes something abundantly clear. We're in a fight, and we've got an enemy waging war against our soul. And David knew exactly what that kind of fight felt like. David says, "He trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle." David doesn't say God removes the fight. Nope, he says God prepares us for it. Why would he do that? Well, first, because he knows what we'll face. At one point or another, that fight's coming our way. And second, because he knows what we need. So he trains us. James gives us a glimpse of what that training looks like. "Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." That means the struggles that you and I face aren't proof that God has left us. They're part of how God trains us. Peter even says those trials are an essential part of our training. These trials have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. Which means some of the hardest seasons that you and I face are where God is doing his most important work in us. And the fires we walk through are how God prepares us for the fight. But here's the most important thing David knew about that fight. We're not alone in it. In fact, in the very next verse, he says this: "He is my loving God and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield in whom I take refuge." David isn't describing a distant God. He's describing a God who steps into the fight with us. A God who has promised, "Never will I leave you. Never will I forsake you." So today, if the fight is on and the fire is raging, look to the one who's with you through it all. Let him be your strength and your peace today as you keep on swinging.